And hi, good morning, friends. It's Sunday morning. I know I'm filming these a day early for you, but that's just because I want to make sure I get you the content nice and early in the morning. So hopefully the plan works. See, always planning. Don't worry, the planner is actually right here. So I am totally using that planner every week, trying to get things done a little earlier and a little more of it. Not just for you, though I love you. I'm trying to do it for my family. Remember, the whole purpose in this was to make my house more of a home for my friends and family, to help my family get to God and my friends. I'd like them to go to God too. And also to try and figure out this new stage in my life. So the planner's totally working for me, totally making mistakes along the way, but I'm learning and I hope that I'm getting better. So yesterday we were talking about some of the simple mistakes we can make, and some of the ways that we can combat that is to find a good program for our kids or our family, even for ourselves, and then to continually take it deeper. It's even like Linda and I were talking about the other day. There's so many levels, even to like understanding the catechism, right? You might start out learning some vocabulary. You might start out just memorizing. And then from memorizing, maybe you go to the deeper, the big green catechism, and really look up the passages. And then maybe you're going to start looking up the scripture and seeing where it's coming from. So levels and levels and levels. We never stop learning, friends. And if you're not a geek like me, I'm sorry, but I love that. I love that about our faith, that it's always going deeper. It's based on mysteries, right? Because God is so amazing, and we're always trying to understand him as he reveals himself to us, and we can always keep going deeper and deeper in our faith. It's so beautiful. So today I thought I'd try and show you a couple resources that I have found. I talked about a couple yesterday about this theology of the body and how you can go deeper in your understanding of that particular teaching. So I have some other resources here. You don't have everything from the set, but I thought I'd let you know about them. So one of them is, and I talked about this with Linda. I probably talked about it before. My colored Bible tabs. I use the Great Adventure Bible system. It's a timeline system. So timelines, if you've never done a timeline, and public school kids, you might not have done this, but a lot of homeschooling kids are like, the timeline. The timeline for a lot of homeschool kids, you start working on it like in kindergarten or preschool. It can be this giant book, or you might actually have one going like across the whole wall of your house. And as you learn something new and it has a date, bam, you just put it on the timeline. So you might learn something in music, you might learn something in art, but then you might turn around in history. What was the music like during the time of the American Revolution? How was what was going on in the world influencing music? How was it influencing art? How was it influencing literature? What was going on politically? Not just technically the war, but what ideas were coming out? Because the ideas don't just come out in military ways, right? They don't. They are expressed through the arts. They are expressed through what's going on with all the churches of the world and all the religions, really. I mean, you can't really study Spanish history without studying some Muslim history. You just can't. It's all intertwined. And so timelines show us that. So Jeff Caven's put together the Bible timeline, and there's the overview one that most people do. It's this guy. And I do have, the DVDs, but you can also get it streaming. So if you're in a place where you have Wi-Fi and you have access to that, you can show that, or you can get, I think you can still get the DVDs for people who don't have that. It was probably originally on VHS, who knows. But so you can get those DVDs and watch them, and he gives you a little talk. There's a lesson, there's homework, you read the Bible. I know Linda probably loved the study because of the maps. But it was great. It was maps, and he gave you vocabulary, because vocabulary does matter. Words, meanings. We were talking about this the other day. Oh, like Linda and I, we kept saying about women in transition. I said it to someone else, and they were like, you're covering what? I was like, oh, that has a new meaning now, doesn't it? Words change meaning over time. So that is one of the things that Jeff Cavins goes about in his book. And so you do some Bible reading, and he really has you kind of review it, but then there's a nice outline, and then he goes over it in a talk, and he already has the outline written out for you. So if you're a nerd like me, you can fill in extra notes. If you're not a nerd, you can just follow along the outline. I don't judge whether you're a nerd or not. And if you get stuck on the questions, the answer in the back of the book, technically, but the answers in the back of the book are like so enormously full. Remember, we talked about doing things incrementally. So don't freak out and look at the answers in the back of the book, because you may have part of the joy of this is doing it in a group. So you may have part of the answer, but the person next to you might have part. So when it comes out in dialogue and discussion, your group is going to cover the whole answer. So don't freak out. And if you missed your homework one night, probably the person next to you did it twice. You never know. So don't freak out. Do your best, but don't stress out about it. So you're thinking, okay, that's great. That's probably, sorry, the sunlight's kind of wonky today. That's probably great for adults, but what do kids do? Thing about Jeff Cavins is he also has a teen version of this, and the other year they came out with what? He and his wife came out with the storybook edition. So this is so wonderful. It's color. So you can see it's bright and colorful. It's got the pictures. It goes a little bit over the story. And if there's a tie to like, oh, and here's our timeline. It's telling us it's the divided kingdom, which ties into the later study. So you're laying a foundation for kids to go in to take the Bible timeline when they're adult. If something in here, ooh, there's even a little checklist. Nice, right? There's even, if there's a part of the Mass that comes from this, I'm trying to find a symbol. There's not just color in this one. There's symbols. So like for the return, see, they're going back. So he's using symbols too, which is really handy for kids. Oh, it's handy for anyone, let's be real. Oh, here we go. We're in Luke, and he's telling us, oh, this is where this part of the rosary comes from. So he's using symbols and showing you where our faith is coming from Scripture. So the Great Bible Timeline is adapted for all ages. So again, you can start with this, reading it with little kids, right? And then keep going up. I think that has card games and all kinds of great stuff for kids to do. I will tell you, I keep my own crazy notebook. I don't like to write in my books, so if you were noticing that I don't write in my books, you're like, so that one has some notes here and there where I forget my notebook, but my notebook is like crazy full, all different colors. There are charts. Don't make fun of me. There are lots of charts in there. My table would always be like, ooh, we're waiting to see what kind of chart or diagram you've drawn for this lesson. So see, building on others' strengths. It's why we work together. We were made for communion, and one of the reasons is we complement each other, right? So my weakness is I can get bogged down in it, and somebody else may have a beautiful reflection, whereas I'm too busy drawing charts and graphs, and maybe it takes me longer to get to the point than it does somebody who just spontaneously does it. Another system I wanted to show you, I've talked several times about Women of Grace's foundational study, Full of Grace, right? And you're like, well, that's for adult women, and it is. You might get college students that like to do it, but it really is for adult women. Some of the topics in the book are a little deep for kids, but don't worry, they've got you covered. Sue Brinkman and a host of her friends got together and redid the program as young Women of Grace. So they have people in pop culture as well as women saints. They've made it a more accessible text, so there's more pictures, some color. Some adults have a little bit of trouble reading the light purple print that's here and there. No problem. Photocopy it with a black and white copier and you should be fine. There's also little snippets, little sidebars, boxes. You're still going to learn the vocabulary. I did a study on this actually once for college, and a lot of the young women loved the same thing about this study that adult women, and I'm talking like girls as young as 12 and 13 up to college. Now the 12-year-olds probably need a mom to come or maybe an older sister to take the program with them. But they loved the same things the adult women loved. And what happens is this beautiful thing, we call it sacred sisterhood. And it just kind of happens in some of these studies. You'd have to really see us together. So while that workbook is great, there's also, if you're using it in a school, they have all kinds of educational materials that meet today's standards and expectations for work. Oh, that was on Kairos Kronos, one of my favorite topics. It was one of the girls' favorite topics too. So that is very exciting. And you're like, okay, but that's not little kids. The Great Adventure one had for little kids. What does this have for little kids? Well, Jeanette, who is the author and founder of Women of Grace, she actually had a career in education, and she actually has a series of workbooks, catechetical workbooks for kids that you could use for your CCD program, whatever you're calling it, religious ed. And I have to believe that having Jeanette's endorsement and her writing in them, that it's going to be foundational to lead you to the women's studies. Now, is it just for little girls? No, it's for girls and boys. And I believe the press name on it, that is Simon Peter Press, and that's all available for you at womenofgrace.com. You just go to their store and you can see it. All the Great Adventure Timeline stuff, I believe, is at Ascension Press, so you can find them both places. And don't worry, the one from Ascension Press does have, you can buy the giant room long timeline. So if you're into that, homeschoolers, you can totally buy that. Let's see. I think that's all I wanted to cover. I just wanted to show you that, yes, that does exist, that you can buy those resources that will grow with your kids. And those are just two wonderful examples. I am sure there are many more, but these are the two that I've really looked at and studied. Oh, and you're like, what do I do when I'm done with the Bible timeline? Don't worry. He has them. He comes out with them periodically for different books of the Bible. So you can go so much deeper in each of those. And Women of Grace, you're like, how can I go deeper? They have a monthly program called Morning of Grace where you'd have a luncheon with ladies, and you can have a speaker, you can have videos. They send you all the material that you would need for that once a month. And you can watch the TV show. That one also has a radio show. You're totally covered. You will always go deeper into Women of Grace. Jeff Cavins also has a podcast. So the creator of the Great Adventure Timeline, you can listen to his podcast and go deeper into reflections with him. Men, you could even make a group possibly and go over, listen to his podcast together and discuss them. Great ideas out there, folks, for everyone. So this is just an example. Don't worry. I didn't give you an impossible task last time. These resources really do exist. And I just really want to encourage you to get out there. Let me know if you know of any other great studies or how these particular studies have blessed you. As always, like, share, subscribe, hit that bell. I don't know where it is. And if you could put in the comments what you liked, what you didn't like, be kind. Any of these topics you want me to go into more deeply, or if you've got a show idea, friends, put it down there for me and we'll see if we can cover it. Or if you want to see a guest, like if you want to see Diane, you may not have a choice. I'm really trying hard to get Diane and Gina on, so let's see if we do it. But if you've got an idea for someone, they don't have to be one of my best friends. We can have anyone on. I just happen to have some amazing friends. So if you have anyone that you really want to see on, let me know. I'm praying for you, especially on this great and holy Sunday. And I hope you all have a blessed week. Oh, it's Monday for you. Whatever day you watch this, have a blessed day, friends. Bye. This is Deanna, for My Blooming Catholic Life. And I know the resources at the end have been kind of ticking by really quick. Just hit the pause button and freeze that screen. You'll see it. You'll get the resources. If you can't see them, let me know in the comments, and I'll make sure. I'm really trying to learn how to do this a little more. They're always changing things. I'm trying to up my game for you. Okay, I'm really going now.